Hey, listen to Commander Cookout Podcast, episode 216. I'm Brando. I'm here with Ryan and Rebbec. We're going to continue the arc of the good vibes. We're talking about a worthless hunk of garbage and Ryan's wife. Now, hit our theme song! Hey, Ryan. We're back for yet another whirlwind adventure. How you doing?
Good. What is going down?
A whole ton is going down. We got a super exciting deck to talk about featuring a commander that we were thinking about building ourselves but decided to outsource it, and a commander that's so bad I can't believe we're actually going to talk about it on the show. We have to wish my dog, Big Urs, a very happy 4th birthday. We got some patrons to thank, some stories to tell, but before we get to any of that, we have to thank our official sponsors, FusionGamingOnline.com. They're the source for all your gaming needs.
Ooh, very much so. And as anybody who watched the pre-show knows, I've got all the packs for the Dirty Stinky Onion Bag. They're gonna be given away. I did some open flippy. It's great. I actually did magic things that weren't just clean my house. So as everybody can see, I'm at home. I'm in the CCO office, I guess.
We have so many, places now. Hey, we got the office, we got the studio, we got the Wood Age studio, we got the control room. We're expansive as fuck.
Yeah. Well, I'm here. You're at the studio, at the radio station, as you normally are. How did you say it? The lockdown has cometh down. I'm at home. I'm quarantining. I'm all plugged up still. So here I am. There you are. Joe puts it together fantastically on YouTube. Welcome if you're new to YouTube, new sub, new viewer, what have you. Feel free to like, subscribe, tell your friends. We're brought to you by the wonderful patrons at patreon.com/CCOPodcast.
Whether they like it or not.
Yeah, that's what we say. And we are sponsored by FusionGamingOnline.com, where, of course, you can go use CCO Fusion 5, all caps, the number 5, to get 5% off your whole order now that Black Friday is over. I missed my chance to get my Black Friday deal on a Phyrexian Altar. Kind of choked about that. It was going to be foil. It was going to be epic.
Yeah, I was going to buy that too, actually, and I also missed it.
We were actually looking at the same card, hey?
Yeah.
We didn't even know.
I kind of wish one of us got it. Be like, oh, fuck, the Phyrexian Altar sold. And then you've been like, yo, I got one. You son of a bitch.
Yeah. That's it. But both of us, shit out of luck, both of us separate, both of us have cracked into some Commander Legends. I mentioned our editor, Joe, who puts this video together, but huge thank you to friend of the show and new editor, Tyler Coates. He is putting together a bunch of our YouTube stuff. Not exactly right now because we're not filming any of it, but his first video has been published. His second video is in the works. So big thanks and congrats to Tyler for working with us. And he is also brought to you by the wonderful Patreon supporters. We are taking the support and we are putting it back into the content to bring you guys more videos, diverse videos, fun content that has kind of more people's fingers stuck into it in the attempts to make it more entertaining.
So now that we've thanked all these YouTube editors, I feel it would be remiss to all of our regular podcast listeners if we didn't also thank the person that edits this here podcast each and every week over the last 217 episodes, me.
Never heard of her.
Oh, man.
Oh, yeah.
Let's start with some patron shoutouts, and then we'll get into some of the stories that we promised in the intro.
Oh,
That's what
yeah,
I think we should do.
Very much so. So we've got some new patrons, and of course, the patron nickname, the Discord nickname, one of the benefits, and it is an endearing part of the show, and we've got some that need to be addressed today. The first one, an increased pledge. Big thank you to Tyler Metal Stool. Ooh. I think that's funnier than Metal Tool.
Well, I don't know. Metal Tool makes them sound like that dude from Seven. Metal Stool makes it sound like he ate the wrong mushroom and then he pooped a little iron ingot. An ingot.
Like Metal Mario, except Tyler Metal Mario Stool.
Gross.
So thank you, F you.
Indeed.
Okay, next one that needs to be addressed. This is Josh Grimm says, I didn't get a nickname. And then he is prancing around on Discord with GJ for $30. And if you have to ask what a GJ is, you know.
You have to bust out $30 to get one.
I was going to say you can't afford it, but GJ is the nickname. GJ for $30, even better. If it was $20, maybe I'd be interested, but
I don't know, man. Like, it still sounds like, I don't want to kink shame anybody, but it does sound a little bit outside of my wheelhouse.
Hey, no kink shaming in CCO Nation. We had that conversation when we were playing Open Flippy last night when I was rubbing mana drains all about myself. GJ for $30. That's the nickname. I love it. It reminds me of one of my favorite comedy movies, Beer Fest. And like of the 5 movies I've seen, Beer Fest is like one of my favorites.
Well, I'd hope so, given that you've only seen 5. I would assume they are all one of your favorites because...
Yeah, top 5.
Yeah.
Top 5 greatest movies of all time.
So what is it? 7, Beer Fest, and
then the 3 Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I've seen all of those movies. You're right. You're right.
I don't know.
Okay, we've got a couple more patrons to thank. We got a couple more. We've got Charles Warner. Big F you and thank you. Now, Charles Warner, you might know him from his Silver Fox commentator brother, Kurt Warner. I think he's on NBC, or is he on Fox, like Fox Sports or something?
Does that make him a Warner brother?
Yes, it does.
Oh, shit, that's awesome. I love Warner Brothers. They're like the coolest cartoons, man. They're so good.
Yeah, yes, pseudo-celebrity Charles Warner. Never been on Looney Tunes, though.
What? Oh, get on that, dude. Like, if you got the family connections, you make that happen. You could be your own Tiny Toon.
He's the guy that had to dress up in that big hairy red suit for Bugs Bunny to run away from. That's this guy.
He's Tweety when he turns into like Mr. Hyde Tweety when he's like 35 feet tall.
Yeah.
Man.
Eyeballs bugging out of his head and stuff,
Those
right?
were some violent ass cartoons, hey? It's like, I'm gonna eat this little bird who everybody loves, and then he turns into a giant monster and holds him by the neck and just punches him in the face until he's not dead, because I mean, that would just be too much.
Yeah, because you can fall off cliffs and get shot in the face and not die.
Yeah, if you get shot in the face with like a huge caliber shotgun, just makes your hair a little black. It's fine. It's fine. That is not true, by the by.
Yeah. Charles Psycho Tweety, welcome.
Yeah, I like that. It's a good one.
Yeah, I like that.
Took a roundabout way, but we got there.
Last one of the day. This is Noah Dolce, and he says like Dolce and Gabbana, like the brand. Like so we were like, no,
Dolce is definitely something dirty, right?
I would have to assume it's like hitting your gag reflex. You Dolce. Ugh.
Now, according to the UD, that's the Urban Dictionary.
Oh yeah,
Dolce actually means to be incredibly awesome, uber epic, divine, shine with dazzling elegance. So obviously our
he
boy
wrote that himself.
He obviously wrote that himself. So we just scrolled down to like the next word, and the next word is smooth brain, which means you are a fucking idiot because the surface area of your brain is distinctly lessened by the lack of wrinkles.
Yep.
So welcome to the nation, smooth brain.
Noah Smooth Brain, no wrinkles.
Oh, that last part makes it dirty.
Yes, because some things ought to be wrinkly.
Like the brain.
Yes.
No matter how you look at it, the brain should probably be. Also, you can tell that we have some scumbags that work in the office here with me because there's all these like foreign dating app ads that keep popping up on the side of the computer in here.
Nice.
And currently there's a picture of these, like, it says, have a wedding with a whatever. And it's got these 2 girls that are wearing kind of these ill-fitting dresses and no bras. And you can see, like, sweat stains underneath the boobs. It's like, of all the pictures you took, that's the one that you picked for your mail-order bride service? Come on, Internet, you can do better.
Well, it's the internet. What do you expect?
I expect them to do fucking better.
Well, okay. Speaking of mail order bride and doing better, we haven't even mentioned our commander today. And I say that because if you got the hints yesterday that Brando hates it, I love it, and we asked the community to provide it to us, that's exactly what happened in more ways than you know. Wow. More ways than you know. So the joke in my family for a long time was that I got my wife Rebecca from a mail order bride website because her family's heritage is Russian. And that's the joke. She's Russian. She came over. She found somebody to marry. It was me, right?
Right.
And it turns out that Rebbec is the commander that we're doing today.
Rebbec, Artificer of Ascension, or Architect of Ascension. I can't read. Artichoke of Ascension. There we go. We got there.
There it is. Artichoke of Ascension. Give her a read and then let everybody know the partner, and you can have the honors of introducing our partner for today.
Rebbec is a 3/4 for white. 3 artifacts you control have protection from each converted mana cost among artifacts you control, and she has partner. And the partner for today, as I said in the intro, is a creature I never thought that anybody would seriously put into a deck, let alone put it into a deck and send it to us. Specifically me, because what the fuck? And it is the one and only Dick with a Face Prismatic Piper, the 5 mana 3/3 that doesn't do anything.
And that was submitted by friend of the show, patron supporter, all around, generally 7 out of 10, totally medium, whatever, Chris Von Doom.
Chris Von Doom. He's fucking trolling me again.
Why? And you go, why the fuck would anybody send this in? Well, it's actually because I asked him to.
You fucking guy. I just can't believe we're playing Prismatic Piper in a deck. Like, I was thinking about it on the way over here. I'm walking here and it's like, what could we play instead of Prismatic Piper? And the answer is literally anything. Literally any commander is better than Prismatic Piper. If you've built a deck that has Prismatic Piper in it, just stop, because there's something better.
Here's the thing. And this raises the argument that you can do this with anything, but we chose Prismatic Piper both to troll Brando and because then you don't have to do any extra stuff. And when we say that, you'll understand when I explain it a little bit. So what we've got going on is a deck that Chris and I kind of theorized that we would have Rebbec because I wanted to build a Rebbec deck. And I was stuck between kind of artifact combo, stacks, control. Do I partner it? Do I keep it mono white? Is the partner, can it be my kid? Is the partner me? Like, is this a family thing? What is it, right? So we thought if we picked Prismatic Piper, we could have almost like 10 card swap outs for all of the different colors that Prismatic Piper could be that aren't white. So we've actually got a stack today on architect.com of 140 cards.
Good God.
And 10 of them that are white or white adjacent, the white portion of the strategy, can come out and we would name a different color with Prismatic Piper to give us like a white-blue deck with 10 blue cards or a white-black deck with 10 black cards. And we thought, well, why don't we have a distinct plan of what to swap out and a distinct plan of what to swap in? Take 10 cards out, put 10 cards in. And just the more we started to talk and think about it and use Architect to organize it, the more it started to look really cool as like a teaching tool and something that'll give like a really fun, unique gameplay experience, which we're all about here at CCO.
Which it damn better if you've got 5 decks in one. It's like the Swiss Army knife of decks, man.
Yeah, and I think that you'll like the red portion of it, and I think Chris picked cards that would be appealing to us as if I was actually going to build the deck, and I think some form of a deck like this I might build after I get my 100 foil-etched Prismatic Pipers to put on the back of my Mistform Ultimate sleeves.
Jesus.
I'm actually doing that. If you've got foil-etched Prismatic Pipers, get at me.
Can't. I sent them all off to the people who asked for them. People actually wanted them.
Well,
I can't believe
want them.
Well,
I want them.
It's too late now, man.
No, I know. I have 100 to go. So that's what we're doing. I think it's going to be very interesting. We're doing a proper deck tech today. It's a community preferred deck list channel Discord deck that a few other people have contributed to and I've had dialogue with. So Chris knew exactly kind of what we were all thinking, and it's going to be great.
I will assume that it'll be fine.
Yeah, 7 out of 10, just like Chris.
It's normally how we do things around here. Speaking of 7 out of 10, and you mentioned stacks. I'm going to tell you. Let me tell you a story, because I buckled down and I decided, okay, I need to build a Commander Legends deck just because it's Commander Legends. I should build one.
Yeah,
right?
That's what the kids are doing.
Yeah, like putting Jessica in Tana, that's cheating. That's not building a deck. That's just putting a partner in my deck that needed a partner.
Yeah.
So I figured, what am I going to do? And I watched our set review, our legendary creature review, which you can find here on anywhere you're getting your podcasts or on YouTube if you want pictures. And I settled on, what's her name? Obeka, the Brute Chronologist.
Yeah, there you go. That's a popular one right now.
And I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. Like, I like what the dialogue that we had about it, where it's kind of like an interesting counter spell, and it lets you use all of those end of turn things. And I sit down to start building this deck, and I start pulling some artifacts out, and I grab like my Sol Ring and my whatever, like just the stuff that I usually grab when I start building a deck. And immediately, what section of my binder do I flip to, Ryan? What section do you think I flipped to? Like, immediately, the first card I pulled out was a Sol Ring. So it's like the first page of artifacts I have in my binder.
Yeah.
And then I flipped immediately over to the
stacks page.
The fucking stacks page. And of course, I just pull out a Tangle Wire and I pull out a Smokestack, and I think in my head, oh man, this is going to be great, because during my upkeep, I'm just going to put a counter on the Smokestack and then not take a counter off my Tangle Wire, proliferate both of them, and end my turn, and then just pass it off, and fuck you, and that's how I'm going to win the game. And I immediately built like a way harder, harsher, slower, more painful way of killing somebody than a Stasis Lock.
Yeah, I wouldn't build that if I was you.
Yeah, I have a problem, Ryan. I have a stacks problem. I learned how to do it from members of the nation, and now I can't stop.
I think the stacks problem, and this might be relevant to today's deck, because Rebbec does make for, I think, a good control commander, and we can go all the way stacks with her because our artifacts are protected when we have her, right?
Yeah.
So I think, and this isn't a dig on you, but I think when I see people gravitate towards very harsh control decks like stacks decks, it's because they don't know the subtleties of playing control from a card by card basis. Like, you think of classic mono blue counterspell control. Why do people put 87 counterspells in a deck? So they can counter everything, because they don't know what's important and what's not important. Why would you say fuck everything and run Armageddon? Because you don't know what things are admissible. Do you know what I mean? Or permissible to have on the board for you to leverage, even though your opponents played them. And I think today's deck might help us understand this is enough control here. Let's do something else to further the game. Like my Erixmathes deck. I play 4 or 5 counterspells, and that's it. Everything else is just kind of control to keep me alive, instead of control to lock down my opponents.
And extra turn spells and Edric Spymaster of Trest.
No, I don't play. I don't play any of that stuff. I don't play any of that stuff in Erixmathes. There's no extra turns. It was never in Erixmathes. That was Edric, and that was a different deck altogether, even though they were the same colors. It's a totally different deck. And now I play 3 or 4 control, like hard control pieces, a bunch of stuff that like keeps my stuff alive, and then everything else is based on like insta turning on Erixmathes to win. And that's my control deck. So there's a point where enough is enough. And I think a lot of people don't know what that is when they're looking to build something that is slower, grindier, control-ier. So maybe we can find all that out today.
Maybe.
Let's take a look.
All right, deck proper. Rebbec and the Piper. Let's start with the protection section, because it's got 1 card in it, and it's a card that I fucking hate, but we're gonna talk about it. And it's
Tef's Protection.
Tef's Protection. I hate that card.
I hate that card wasn't reprinted, and it's $50.
Yeah, I feel like there probably could have been a better place to reprint it than in a Secret Lair, but what do we know? We're just consumers of the game. Tev's Protection, everybody knows what it does. I think at this point it's white 2 for an instant until your next turn. Your life total can't change. You gain protection from everything. All permanents you control phase out, and then you exile it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a oh sorry you were gonna win. Oops.
Yeah, now you don't. So it keeps you alive. Yeah. And you know what? We've got some, what I think are going to be very common cards in Ally Mirror, which taps for mana of any color, Chromatic Lantern, taps for anything, and Expedition Map, which allows you to search for any basic that you need, right? And you might have whatever colors that you swap in if you switch. You might swap in one island, for example, and take out one plains if you go the blue route. If you swap in the blue cards, for example, right?
Right, I'd probably go 13. There's 26 basics in the deck. I just cut them in half. Don't be a coward.
That's fine too, right? And that makes it easy. You just search until you find 7 or 8 or whatever and just pull them out, right? The point is, in doing this, because I've done a deck like this before, where I had like a Voltron kind of strategy, or I had like a really like top-end multiplayer strategy, and I swapped out cards, and I had a little label inside the sleeve to say which version of the deck I was playing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have a plan. Don't just willy-nilly, air quotes, sideboard into a different deck, because that is not okay, and people won't like that. But if you say, this is my Prismatic Piper deck, here's my 10 different piles for the different colors I play, that's a plan, and you can show people what they are. And I think that people will be more apt to accept that, right?
You as like a game outside the game thing, when you actually show up, you can actually have like a little custom deck box where like the deck proper with all the white stuff is in the main thing, and then you could have 4 little side panels on each side, and then in there is like some basics and the extra 10 cards. That would be so fucking cool.
That's kind of like when people do like really fancy cube boxes, you know, and all the lands fit in one place and all the cards fit in another place, all the tokens fit in another place, right?
Yeah, and you unfold it and you get your deck out, and then you unfold it a little more, and then it's a cup holder.
Oh, yeah, like a trifold deck box cup holder combo.
Yeah, we should invent that. And for all the Prismatic Piper Rebbec decks out there.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Because I'm sure after people listen to this show, it's going to be #1 on EDH Rec.
Guaranteed.
Absolutely.
Guaranteed.
We are influencers, Ryan. We're influencers.
All right, so let's influence with 9 pieces of ramp. And you give them a read because they're all just ramp, and then I've got one thing to say, and then we can move on about them.
All right. For ramp, we've got Solemn Simulacrum, Sol Ring, Smothering Tithe, Skyclave Relic, Mox Tantalite, Mox Opal, Dark Steel Ingot, Cold Steel Heart, and Chrome Mox.
The thing I wanted to say about it is we're playing Mox Tantalite, Mox Opal, and Chrome Mox. The Moxes of this deck are $80, which is not necessary, and not very many removal spells that are going to target artifacts to destroy them cost 0. So Rebbec giving your artifacts protection from CMC 0 is kind of unnecessary.
Well, it gives your creatures, if you have artifact token creatures, it gives them protection from other tokens.
I suppose, yeah.
Like if that's a thing, that's a thing, I guess, right?
Yep. I think that the protections that we care about with Rebbec are going to be CMC 1, 2, and 3, which is no revelation, right? But removal is going to cost 1 and 2 and maybe 3, and creatures are going to cost maybe 3 and 4 if we're blocking with artifacts, right?
Sure. 5 also, or 6 if you're playing Brando, because I guarantee you I'm going to go red, 4 and play something at some point in the game.
Yeah. Yes, and we're gonna move along right now to see if we have any 6 drops in our value section. Let's give them a read.
Okay, in the value section we have 6 drop. We have a Worm Coil Engine.
Of course we do. That's like one of the best artifacts, right? It's a 6/6 Death Touch lifelink. When it dies, you get a 3/3 Death Touch and a 3/3 lifelink. It's great.
So good. Unwinding Clock.
We talked about this last week or the week before, but it wasn't in the deck. This is untap all artifacts you control during each player's upkeep.
Very cool.
Seedborn Muse, but for artifacts.
Shimmermere.
That lets artifacts have Shroud. This is kind of like a counterspell.
Flash.
This is kind of like a counterspell if somebody's targeting something that's like the spell they're casting has 3 CMC. You flash in your Shimmer Mirror and you go, just kidding, it's got protection.
Wrecked. We have a Sculpting Steel.
That's a clone for artifacts.
Mirrorsmith.
Whenever you cast an artifact, you can pay 1. If you do, you get a 1/1 mirror token. And that is an artifact. So it's one of those tokens that costs 0, right?
Yeah, I suppose it costs 0, therefore your artifacts would then have protection from things that cost 0, hey?
I suppose they would.
You don't need those moxes again if you want to save some money or whatever you're doing there. So, okay, there's another thing.
Yeah.
Mirror Battle Sphere.
Mirror Battle Ball. It's going to give you a bunch of mirrors and you're going to fucking pound somebody over the head with it like you're putting them in a sock and swinging it at Max Crandell.
Micus and Flatus?
That makes everything an artifact. And you're going to see another control piece that we can potentially swap out.
Oh, Mirage Mirror.
That makes something... No, it makes Mirage Mirror into that thing, right?
Creature, enchantment, or land, or artifact, I guess it could become.
Yeah, I think that's probably a combo piece in there because we are playing a couple things that can combo. And that goes back to me saying, hey, I want a control deck. Hey, I want a combo deck. So this deck is kind of just a schmozzle of all of those things that I like.
Lodestone Mirror.
And I love this card. This is a 4-drop 2/2 Trampler. You tap an untapped artifact you control to give it +1/+1 until end of turn, and it has trample.
That's cool.
Did I say that already?
You did, but the trample is the important part. Because if it was a 2/2 for 4 that you could just make bigger by tapping out, it's probably not very good.
Exactly.
Lastly, in the value section, we have a Darksteel Forge.
That just makes all your artifacts indestructible. So if they have protection and indestructible, Rebbec plus Darksteel Forge is practically Tef's protection for your whole board.
You're in good shape at that point.
Yeah.
Yes. Should we talk about some of the things you could have maybe protection from if you're indestructible?
Sure. Yeah, I see what you did there.
Yeah, see, we got a fairly significant board wipe package. We got Wrath, we got Tragic Arrogance, we got Slash the Ranks, that's a new one. We got Ratchet Bomb, that's an artifact one. We have Hour of Revelation, Cataclysmic Gear Hulk, and Austere Command.
So if we need control, there it is. I don't know if we need to go into any of those, like pick your sweeper and play it, right? Ratchet Bomb's a cool include because it is an artifact.
They kill everything or most things. They're good. Everybody knows why white is good at killing all the things. Yeah.
Speaking of killing all the things, Swords, Path, Generous Gift, Dispatch, and Disenchant.
With that cool new... what did somebody say on the online the other day? Swords to 9 irons, I think they called that art.
Nice.
I just thought that was super funny. Because I was thinking about that. I was like, man, is getting hit with a golf club better or worse than a sword?
Oh, man. I've been hit by a golf ball. Like
me too.
On the course.
That hurts like hell, doesn't it?
Right in the fucking hand.
Oh, man, that's a specific spot to get hit. I just got hit in the butt. In the butt, upper leg, lower buttock.
Oh, man, that sucks.
This is a tragedy, I'm telling you right now.
Yep.
Okay. What's this old border time spiral thing stamped path that's in here? What is this business?
That is the time spiral remastered thing that they're doing next year. It's like the last set next year where they're doing like, instead of future shifting, they're old shifting stuff.
They old shifted in time spiral last time. That's what time spiral was.
Yeah, they're doing it again.
Cool.
Yeah.
Time Spiral was awesome. I like that set, man. That was
good shit. That was good shit.
Lots of people didn't like it, but we did.
Yeah, it's fine. Okay, let's look at some of the control here because this is kind of a control deck. So we've got a Blind Obedience. Give it a read.
Blind Obedience is an enchantment for white 1 with Extort, which means whenever you play a spell, you can pay either white or black. If you do, each opponent loses a life and you gain that much life.
The key is that things are coming into play tapped. That's what we care about,
yes,
right?
And artifacts and creatures your opponents control enter the battlefield tapped. Although that life gain isn't minimal, given that they all lose 1 and you gain 3, that's not insignificant at times.
Very much so. Okay, we've got an Aethersworn Canonist bonus because it's an artifact.
It is a 2/2 for 2. Each player who casts a non-artifact spell this turn cannot cast additional non-artifact spells.
Oh, baby.
It's a good one.
So, a little bit of a hate bear, and the hatiest of Bear, I don't know, whatever. Karn, the Great Creator. This is the Karn that is a lock with the Mycosynth Lattice that we have, right? Because it says activated abilities of artifacts cannot be played even if they're mana abilities. So this is, what card is that again?
Null Rod. But just for your opponents. So you're still playing Magic, they're not.
That's right, and it's a lock because with Mycosynth Lattice, we're making our opponents' lands into artifacts, and Karn says they can't tap to produce mana.
Correct.
And he's got a +1, who cares? He's got a -2, who cares?
Yeah, both of his abilities, I think, are actually notably and particularly not good in EDH, but that static still makes him highly playable.
Yeah. So then we've got a kill switch. You tap, pay 2 to tap all other artifacts as long as kill switch remains tapped. Another mega ultra crazy one with Mycosynth Lattice.
Yeah, that's what we call shitty Null Rod.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you want to play Null Rod, but you don't want to all the way play Null Rod, / if you don't want to pay money to own a Null Rod, you have a kill switch.
Yeah. We've got a Silent Arbiter.
That is a 1/5 for 4. No more than one creature can attack each combat. No more than one creature can block each combat.
And then we have Brando Special, a Tangle Wire.
Oh, baby. My favorite stacks piece is a 3-drop artifact with fading 4. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player taps an untapped artifact, creature, or land for each fade counter on Tangle Wire. God, that's a fucking good card.
Yeah. So... yeah, I don't know if there's any proliferate in the deck proper, but it's a good card because it's going to slow people down for a good long while. Now,
it is, and it's fair to, some people they really groan when they see that you're playing a Tangle Wire, but I'm going to throw this down there. Just like the Jeweled Butt Plug, Tangle Wire gets progressively worse as the game goes on because you're not going to be able to tap somebody out like with 4 tap permanents after turn 8. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're only going to hose the guy that's already out of the game. So, like, I think Tangle Wire is it's a casual enough include to actually put in a deck that's not a stacks deck, but you just want to throw some wrenches in some gears, especially if you can't proliferate it like this deck. Just an aside on the card.
I agree. We're going to see that that's one of the cards we swap out when we get to the swap section. But before we do, we've got a Blasting Station and a Dross Scorpion. Those have to do with untapping artifacts when stuff dies or enters the battlefield.
A Blasting Station is a 3-drop with tap, sack a creature. It deals 1 to something. And then whenever a creature comes into play, you untap it. And Dross Scorpion is a 3/1 for 4. Whenever it or another artifact creature hit the bin, you can untap an artifact.
Yeah, and then we're playing like Workshop Assistant, Trading Post, Scrap Trawler, Mirror Retriever, Tashar Ancestral's Apostle. These are all cards that can recur, but when you have like a bunch of them, you could lump in like a Junk Diver in there as well with a Sack Outlet, which we are playing because we've got a... a Phyrexian Altar and a Krark Clan Ironworks that lets us sack our artifacts for mana. We can loop the Workshop Assistant, Scrap Trawler in and out of hand by just recasting them, and then those Blasting Stations and Dross Scorpions are going to untap each other and stuff, right? And you can tap them to deal 1 damage. It's a whole thing. That's how a lot of white combo decks win, and Rebbec services that because she's going to give them protection from their CMC, so removal can't kill them in the middle of comboing or at the start of the combo.
Oh, that's so greasy, hey?
Yeah. And this deck can go all the way combo-tastic like that because it has the ability to control in white, and the commander provides like some level of extra protection for a combo. So like this is Rebbec is a powerful card, I think, when you're leaning into that artifact combo strategy because you're going to just not let your opponents do stuff to your combo, right?
I think that the reason that she's not more highly regarded is probably because she's more reactive. Like she's preventing people from doing stuff to you, but she's not actually furthering your game plan like a Mishra, or not a Mishra, not me. Who the fuck is the other Mishra?
Urza?
Oh, Urza! Wow! I got them totally mixed up. I got Von Doom on the brain. He's a big Mishra fan. But Urza is, like, he's just maybe not a more powerful artifact commander for a deck like this because it's fucking white. But when you look at an artifact commander like an Urza, you see that raw, just ass-beating power, whereas Rebbec has a more passive, more difficult to interact with you, but you're not actually getting cards in hand or creatures in play by having a Rebbec.
Can you imagine if Grand Arbiter Augustine IV just had your opponent's spells cost more, right? If there was nothing to do with our spells cost less, he would be like Rebbec. He's just stopping our opponents from doing stuff, not furthering our game. But because he can do both, he's regarded as a very powerful control commander, whereas Rebecca only does half of that, which is protects us, right?
Yes, he protects us, she protects us, but doesn't hurt the other team, which is bullshit, because you always want to cause that pain.
Yeah. Speaking of causing the pain, let's talk about the other colored sections of the deck. We kind of skipped over the card advantage section, right? Like it's Endless Atlas, Filigree Familiar, blah, blah, blah. It's just a bunch of artifact stuff that draws cards.
Yeah, we got Mangara in there. He's cool. Like,
it's fine.
There's lots of stuff that you would expect to see in a mono-white / artifact deck where you want to draw some cards.
Yeah. Now, before we get to the other color categories, of which there's 4, one for each of the other colors, 10 cards each, we do have a 10-card, group of white cards that we would want to cut every time. These are the cards that we plan to take out. So we're not just like willy-nilly sideboarding what we think is good, right? We take these ones out, we put these 10 in. Same every time. Blind Obedience, Cataclysmic Gearhulk, Hour of Revelation, Karn, Kill Switch, Mir Smith, Ratchet Bomb, Sculpting Steel, Tanglewire, Trusty Pack Beast, which lets us get a land. We didn't say that one, but essentially we're cutting some of the control stuff and some of the stuff we have redundancies of, right?
Right.
Which, sure, how much is enough? Is the conversation that we had just before we started the deck. While is 900 board wipes enough that we can cut Cataclysmic, Gearhulk, and Hour of Revelation? Yeah. I think 5 more Wraths on top of that is still enough. How much control? Can we cut the Blind Obedience? Can we cut the Kill Switch? Can we cut the Tanglewire? Fucking absolutely, because those are miserable cards to play against.
I wouldn't know.
You only play with them?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
My deck are always built to just survive through them because I'm probably playing them because I'm a piece of garbage, Ryan.
Now, speaking of cards that you're probably playing and being a piece of garbage, we've got the first of the colored categories, and this is red.
I'm getting fired up as the segment, the category is called. So I will hit these quick, and then we'll talk about a few of them in more detail. We've got an Underwear Breach, a Trash for Treasure, a Scrap Mastery, a Saheeli's Directive, a Pia's Revolution, a Hellkite Igniter, a Goblin Welder, a Dockside Extortionist, Doretti Scrap Savant, and a Bosch Iron Golem.
That's it. So we're seeing like a big artifact that can chuck stuff. We're seeing token production, mana production in Dockside. We're seeing recursion in the Trash for Treasure, Underwear Breach, Doretti, Goblin Welder, right? We're seeing all of those. I guess the stuff that we cut, we're kind of getting back, but in a different way, right?
And we're getting ass fucking beating power from stuff like Pia's Revolution or Hellkite Igniter.
Yeah, give Pia's Revolution a read, because we've only ever played that card like one time, right?
It's an enchantment for red too. Whenever a non-token artifact hits your bin from the battlefield, you can return that card to your hand unless an opponent lets it bolt them. So it's like, I'm going to get my Scrap Trawler back automatically unless you get lightning bolted. And they probably will, because they don't want you to have your Scrap. And then you're going to get your Scrap Trawler back anyway, because that's what the deck does.
Exactly, because we didn't cut any of that recursion package in our 10 white cards. So this is just furthering that kind of combo engine, if you want to call it that, with like the Kark Clan Ironworks, sacrificing something, blasting station untaps, tap it to deal 1 damage. We're furthering that plan with the red strategy.
Correct. And we've got what is it? Genesis Wave for Artifact and Saheeli's Directive.
Yep.
It's red X. You reveal the top X. You put all the artifacts that cost X or less into play. Scrap Mastery is, what's that card? That's Living Death?
Yeah, it swaps all of the artifacts in the graveyard with all the artifacts in play.
So it lets you just take your artifact combo things that have just been all fucked up and just put them where you need them to be. And then if you have one or two that need to come back into play, you've got Goblin Welders and Trash for Treasures to do that.
Yes, in addition to like the scrap trawlers and the junk divers of the world, the mirror retrievers. I keep saying junk diver because that's like the original one that did it back in Urza's Saga or whatever, right?
You know what we don't have in this red package, and I'm very, very, very sad that Chris Von Doom did not add it?
I couldn't possibly think of any more red cards that we'd want.
What? Are you... Oh, you're baiting me to talk about Brash Taunter now. Because, shit, that card is good. It is so versatile. I'll bet you even fits into this deck. But it's not Brash Taunter, Ryan. It's Vandal Blast.
Oh, yeah.
Because you know what we're playing, Ryan, is a control deck. And we had stacks pieces in it initially, so if we're going to play a Mycosynth Lattice, we might as well side in a Vandal Blast.
Yes.
Because if you want to see somebody cry tears of both agony and pain, Vandal Blast them when you got a Mycosynth Lattice in play, baby.
Oh.
You know what's even better than that? Vandal Blasting them when they have a Mycosynth Lattice in play. Because that's fucking good.
Oh, titty ass. That's good.
It feels so
man.
good. I can't even... It's only happened to me once, but I pray for the day I get to do it again.
Oh, man. That is the fucking greatest.
You take their thing and just fucking beat them over the head with it. It's awesome. It's a great feeling.
Oh, man. That's stupendous. That is stupendous. Which color do you want to go to next? That's the red one. That's the red color.
Let's just keep going in the order that they're listed on the page. By the way, if you want to take a more in-depth look at this, show notes always show the link to the deck. You can follow along with us. Or if you're watching on YouTube, I'm sure Joe has all these cards listed on the thing.
Yeah, very much so.
So let's go to the Goth AF section. That's the black. The cards in here are Sly Requisitioner, Revel in Riches, Priest of Yawgmoth, Nihil Spellbomb, Marionette Master, Keskit the Flesh Sculptor, Hidden Stockpile, Disciple of the Vault, Cranioplating, and Bolas's Citadel.
Yeah, so like the red category, we're getting some combo enablers with Bolas's Citadel, Disciple of the Vault, Priest of Yawgmoth, that's a sacrifice outlet that gives you mana, Marionette Master, that's kind of like an aristocrat thing, right? So we're, again, getting the same thing, but a little bit different flavor of it. And I very much appreciate that we can not disrupt what the deck is doing, but spice the control or spice the combo to taste based on what experience that we want to have, or maybe what deck or what colors are missing in the particular game. You know when you sit down and you sit down, everybody kind of whips out whatever deck they just grab, but all 4 decks at the table have black in them, or all 4 decks have red in them, for example, right?
Sure.
This deck affords us the opportunity to say, oh, you're playing mono blue, you're playing blue green, you're playing blue black. Well, I'm going to name red with Prismatic Piper. So my deck is going to be white-red, for example, and you're going to do something different than what other people are doing at the table.
I like that.
Yeah.
I like that a lot, yeah.
And the 10-card swap-outs per color give us that opportunity without changing what the deck does. This is still going to let us beat with Cranial Plating, +1. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 for each artifact we control. It's going to let us dig and combo with the Bolas's Citadel, like I said. The Revel in Riches is going to give us some kind of combo win condition instead of like the Blasting Station, for example.
I feel like the black package is a little bit less raw power than the red one, but it gives us a little bit more kind of that puzzly eke out value kind of style that you're getting. Because while the red one can just dump your combo into the yard and then just get it back, or just power it off the top of your library, the black one's going to make you actually have to get a couple of things in play, protect them, and then do something else and manipulate your deck and your permanents in some kind of a way to slowly eke out that advantage where you're going to win a game.
Yeah, and again, just a different. It exemplifies what the color is doing. And it's a great teaching tool, and we're still doing the tokens with Hidden Stockpile, and like we're doing all the same stuff. just a little bit different, like you say, right?
Yeah, and again, there's that unique gameplay experience that we hit on right off the top of the show, and right off the top of us doing the show, which is why we're doing the show.
That's it. What do you got next? You got blue?
Blue is next, and it's feeling blue, which I am not, so I hope that this doesn't change that. The 10 cards in this package are Whir of Invention, Tezzeret the Seeker, Mirrodin Besieged, Mechanized Production, Master of Ethereum, Master Transmuter, Hull Breacher, Glacian Powerstone Engineer, Fabricate, and Aethersworn Shield Mage.
Now, shout out to Glacian Powerstone Engineer, because that was another commander to pair with Rebbec that people suggested, because Glacian and Rebbec in Magic lore are like husband and wife or whatever. So people suggested Glacian be me in the theme of the deck. You know what I mean?
Sure. Who would I be?
Brash Taunter.
Sweet.
Not even in the deck. That's it. So, or you'd be Scrap Trawler.
Hey now, come on.
That's funny.
Oh Lord.
So again, we've got Whir of Invention. That's a tutor, right? Yeah. Search Tezzeret's a tutor. Fabricate is a tutor. So this is going to let us assemble the combo, not more efficiently, but it's going to let us combo harder. But
Whir of Invention is pretty. Like, it just does the combo by itself. If you have enough mana, because you just find all the pieces with it and then put them into play, and then you win.
I suppose, yeah. Like, Whir of Invention is like, what's the green tutor that searches for a creature and it's got Convoke?
Court of Calling.
Yeah, this is Court of
Calling. There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. The point is like, it just lets you combo harder, but like the other two colors we looked at, it's got a Master of Ethereum, which beats just for how big of, like, how many artifacts you have. It's got a Hull Breacher for some control, right? And an Aethersworn Shield Mage. Prevent all damage that would be dealt to artifact creatures this turn. And it's got flash, so you can flash it in as a counter spell to counter like a 3 CMC thing, because it's an artifact. It's going to sort of protect your guys, right? So again, we're doing the control thing, we're doing the combo thing, but we're just spicing it with blue this time, which is, again, I just think this is so cool. This is just totally my jam, because it's such an exercise in kind of what the colors do and an experiment in deck building. I fucking love this deck.
You know what I'd like to see in the blue section is a Hurkyl's Recall.
Bounces all artifacts that everybody controls, right?
Yeah, and then you just build up a bunch of mana, and then you just reset your board, play everything again, and then just do some more stuff. I like Hurkyl's Recall as like an extra life, if you will. If you're doing a combo with a bunch of artifacts and you accidentally fuck something up, but you don't want to admit it, then you can Hurkyl's Recall yourself and just start over again. Yeah,
you know what? I like Hurkyl's Recall in artifact combo decks that are using like Brain Freeze, which mills people for Storm, or your favorite card, Aetherflux Reservoir. That might be a card that you could maybe put into the blue section if you added a Hurkyl's Recall, where you just kind of cast and cast and cast and cast, bounce everything, and then play it all again. Right?
Yeah, it could. It's cool. I think that there's lots of room to even grow in the blue section. I think it's cool the way that it is, and there's lots of tooling you could do to make it even more either different or powerful, depending on what you're looking to do.
What you do not want to do if you add Hurkyl's Recall is cast your Mycosynth Lattice and then Hurkyl's Recall.
Yes,
because that'll bounce all the lands.
That is a bad move. Yes.
Yeah. So let's move to green. This is our last color.
The green beans, if you will.
Yeah. Now, do we control and do we beat? Those are the two questions, right?
And the answer is yes.
Yes. Triumph of the Hordes gives our stuff infect. We can control with Bane of Progress, which also lets us beat, right?
Bane of Progress can be real good, or it can be real bad. I've actually blown myself out with that card. I'm gonna read it real fast. It's a 2/2 for a green 4. Elemental. When it comes into play, destroy all artifacts and enchantments. It gets a +1/+1 counter for each thing that it destroyed this way. I've definitely seen somebody play that into a Mycosynth Lattice, which just was the worst idea of all time because it kills its fucking self. And right, like, And I've seen myself included just play that in, not realizing that the artifacts that you got or the enchantments that you have are what are keeping you in the game, and then you end up blowing yourself out and just losing immediately, even though you have a giant beater. So Bane of Progress is both awesome and scary in an artifact-heavy deck like this one.
Yeah, couple things. With Darksteel Forge, Bane of Progress keeps all of our artifacts alive. And if we had Darksteel Forge and Mycosynth Lattice, we've already discussed that we'd be in good shape if that was the case. Yeah. Bane of Progress just nukes everything on everybody's board, and we have our full board still. If we didn't have Darksteel Forge, and we are playing green, we could, in response to the Bane of Progress destroy everything trigger, we could target it with Heroic Intervention, which we are playing in the green section. That would make just it indestructible, and then it would survive.
Permanents you control. Game indestructible.
Oh, there we go. Our whole board. So that's like a little bit of a combo.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah, so that's fine. And like we've got a bunch of new stuff here. Let's go through some of the new stuff. We've got a Bow and Nylea for some recursion. Who cares? We've got an Itch-Tekik? I don't even know.
Itchy Test Salvage Splicer is a 1/1 for 5. So far it's fucking awesome. When it comes into play, you get a 3/3 colorless golem. Whenever an artifact is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on him and on each golem you control.
So there's our token generator in this color package. We've got our Wrath in Bane of Progress. We've got our Beater in Triumph of the Hordes. We've got some card draw in Great Henge and in Lifecrafter's Bestiary.
We've got a great big X spell in Finale of Devastation. You'll notice that each color so far, except for black, which could have played Torment of Hailfire if you wanted to just win, or Exsanguinate or whatever, each color has had a monster X spell that you use with your monster mana package in the artifacts to power out to something.
Yeah, your Krark Clan. Huge. Yeah, your Krark Clan Ironworks looping your like Scrap Trawler and Mere Retriever will just get you a whole ton of mana. And what we didn't say was Hellkite Igniter in red, you can just dump mana into that as well to and then just beat with that, right?
Yeah, man. We talked about Hellkite Igniter last week, about how big of a frickin' beating that card is. I think I sent one away as like I pulled one out of the dirty foil bag and added it into the Brando altar that I sent away to somebody, and I was like, well, it's in bad shape, I'll just get rid of it.
Nice. Nice. Okay, so that's the deck. It's got all these different colors that are providing you the same type of thing, but a different flavor. I think we've beaten that to death. We have got, quickly, some strengths and weaknesses of doing this.
Yes.
Where do you want to start?
Let's start with the strengths, and then we'll talk about some weaknesses, and then we'll talk about more good things. It's a compliment sandwich, Ryan. That's important. I learned about those at work. Brando, you're doing a great job. I really wish that you wouldn't complain so much when we ask you to come in at 4 a.m, but you're doing a great job. That's a compliment sandwich that I received on Friday.
Nice. Okay, compliment sandwich. Bird's eye view from the very top down, 1,000 feet. This is a very CCO deck. It's going to combo, it's going to control, it's got some stacks for you, and it gives a unique gameplay experience that I think the listeners would appreciate. I know that I would appreciate it if I was playing, and because it's different all the time, it's never going to get stale.
This is a deck, if you're going to bring one deck to an EDH&M, this is the one, because it's technically 5 decks all in one, and that's really, really cool. I mean, we've never done anything like this before.
I very much like that idea, too. I didn't even think of going to events with this deck and having 5 different decks.
You could travel to a Magic Fest and bring just this and play different games with virtually everybody that you play with for an entire weekend with this one deck. That's really cool.
That's fucking excellent.
Like, yeah, it's still 2 deck boxes, but it's cool that you can do that, man. That is awesome.
Yes, 100%. More strengths. We've got a controlling deck. That's great. We've talked about that a lot. We've got...
You get to be the smartest guy at the table.
Yeah, you get to attempt to be.
Without even playing blue!
Maybe. You've got an attempt to be the smartest guy at the table, for sure. This deck is, I think, in the top echelon of CCO decks when you talk about decks that are conversation pieces, decks that you can theorize about, think about, ask, what does this card do? What can I swap in the green section, for example, to replicate what is in the blue section or the white section to make the deck still perform at a similar power level regardless of what colors you're actually playing? This is a real conversation piece.
And it is a thing where you can use this deck as virtually any power level, too. You could go really hard in on the stacks combo control with the red or blue, and then you could just play a bunch of, like, janky creature token making, not garbage, but just kind of casual, low-to-the-ground fun stuff in green, right? You could play your mid-range, maybe harder control, but different control in black. There's lots of room to grow with this deck, and it's one of those ones where every time something comes out, there's probably going to be a conversation to be had about which of those cards is going to go into this deck or into the conglomeration of decks that you're building, because it's cool. I like that.
Yeah, very much so. And it kind of feels like the partner in Commander Legends as a whole kind of facilitated this, because like anybody could say, well, yeah, I'll just pair Rebecca, that's my wife's name, Rebbec and whatever blue partner, Rebbec and whatever green, or this green one and that black one. Like, it could be anyone. It doesn't need to be Rebec and Piper. It could be anything, but because like this one is special to me because it has my wife's name in it, right?
And I think that Rebbec overall, I think really is a good choice for this, because while she doesn't provide you that oomph like we talked about before, she does provide you with a stable, solid base on which your deck will always perform. Like, your deck will always have this creature in the command zone that gives the permanents and things that aren't being swapped in and out of the deck all the time, protection from stuff.
Yes.
And that's important. It's not like you're playing this kind of heavy, like a Kamal. You're not playing the new Kamal where when you swap out your creature beats for the more combo heavy engine, now you've got this worthless 8-drop in the command zone, right? You'll always have this thing that will always impact your game because it gives you protection from your opponents, and that's important.
Yeah, ultimately a lot of the cards that we're swapping out aren't like the things that make the deck do what it does. And it'll always have white's removal, which is great. It'll always have white sweepers, which is great. Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Let's move on to the weaknesses, though. By and large, the deck is mono white. So the really good card draw that we have access to in blue and green and black isn't there because that's not what we're swapping in generally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is a tricky hurdle to jump over. Also, it being 5 decks at once means it's got 5 pretty good decks that you're going to play that are always going to be fun, but maybe they're going to be also a little clunky until you learn how to pilot 5 different decks.
Yeah, and about the 5 different deck thing, is it this particular deck, because this is just a theory exercise at this point, we've never played it, tested it, tuned it, I think this particular deck is doing too many things, too many different kinds of combos, too many different kinds of control, right? Like generally a control deck wants to control the board, or it wants to stop people from casting stuff. It has a way to control, right? Or it has a way to combo. And this deck, just because it's a theory craft, is sort of all over the place.
It is trying to do several things. And if you're going to play stacks in a deck, I've advocated this for a long time, you can play it, but if you're going to play it, make sure that you are focused on what you're trying to do. You can't just lock down the game and then just hope you draw something good. Like, you got to be able to convince the other people you're playing with, hey, I'm locking down the game, but I'm going to win this way, and here's what I'm doing to facilitate that.
Yeah. Oh, you know what I just thought of? Stacks without a plan is literally just a chaos deck.
What's worse than a chaos deck?
Oh, well, yes, because you don't get to play Magic. At least with chaos decks, you sort of get to play something that's like Magic. Stacks, you get to do nothing. But if stacks without a plan is nothing, nobody's playing Magic.
Yeah, you're like, why are you doing it? You never show up with just a stacks deck that doesn't win. You gotta build it properly. If that means playing tutors, if it means playing dirty 2-card combos that you can search for with 1 card, you got to do that shit.
Yep, and I think that goes back to what I was saying near the start of the show, where if you're just staxing because you don't know any other ways to control or win other than, oh, I'm just going to stax everybody because I want to be annoying and make everybody scoop, right? Like, that isn't how it's done, and that's not fun, and ultimately it's a waste of everybody's time. So if we could lump all that into the weaknesses and then go back to the positive portion of the compliment Eiffel Tower sandwich, is have a plan to make the game fun if you are going the harder control route than this particular list that we're talking about.
This strength of this deck is the fact that it exists, and once people see it and you've had that conversation, like we said, it's a conversation piece, that'll immediately make the games interesting.
Yeah.
Even if they're not, even if you are kind of staxing and doing all this kind of miserable control-y shit, I think that people are still going to be interested in doing it, and you're going to get another game in because they're going to say, okay, you like cut all that mono white garbage. Let's see what your green suite has, right? Like, and you can do that kind of stuff, and you can show people how fucking brilliant you are, right? And hey, man, it's hard. Building decks like this are effing hard. Like, you talk, it's so easy. I'm just gonna splash this color, and my deck's gonna do all this.
Yeah, how do you make it the same power level regardless of what you put in, right? And what color you put in.
And we're not just adding good stuff. You know what I mean? When you look at those color sections, you're not just adding a bunch of good. It's not like Wheel of Fortune, Wheel of Misfortune, Dockside Extortionist, and just all the best red staples. It's a bunch of stuff that works with the deck that you're playing.
Agreed.
And in black, it's a bunch of stuff that works with the deck that you're playing, but it makes the deck do the same thing, but in a remarkably different way. And that's hard to do. Like, big ups to Chris and everybody else that worked on this deck, because this is hard shit to do.
That's cool, man. That's cool. Now, we're not going to do a spice calculator today because, frankly, there's no Rebbec and Piper combos on EDH Rec. So sorry to anybody who's looking forward to that. But I do want to say before we do card of the week, that this is a theorycraft sort of experiment, and because it has 140 cards in it, it is nearly a $700 experiment. And we go back to the $80 worth of Mox, the $40 Phyrexian Altar, the mana base that lets us find different colored lands like fetch lands, Prismatic, Vista and stuff, $35. Tef's Protection that could maybe be a counter spell is $50, right? So there is some expensive pieces here that we don't necessarily need. Even the Wormcoil engine, we could play like a Cathodian that dies and gives us mana instead of giving us 2 bodies that we would then have to sacrifice to a Krark Clan Ironworks, for example. So there's different ways to get around the expensive stuff, and that just adds a degree of complexity and time and testing when you're taking the most powerful cards out because they're the most expensive. So just keep that in mind, and going right into card of the week, or as Brando likes to say,
card of the week.
I gotta give it to Rebbec, Artichoke of Extension. What did you call it?
Artichoke of Extension.
Sure. We got to give it to Rebbec because she was kind of the inception of the whole idea in me wanting to play a combo or a control deck, outsourcing it to CCO Nation, having this kind of 5-in-1 deck come to fruition, the Discord helpers helping out with the list, and it's got to be Rebbec.
Who would have thought when we were talking about Rebbec last week that we'd end up here? 7 days later, we're talking about 5 decks at once, helmed by this mono white kind of ho-hum on our own commander. Who would have thought?
And Prismatic Piper.
Fuck that guy. He has nothing to do with this. We could have an 11-card pile in each of those other things and just have any other 4-color partner guys, and I would be perfectly satisfied.
Yeah. You know what I think? This is the greatest. Rebbec is, obviously, that's Rebecca, that's my wife, and Prismatic Piper represents every person in CCO Nation that wants to be part of a deck like this. Like, I'm just imagining Chris Von Doom just like in the art of Prismatic Piper, just piping away on his fucking little flute thing just to troll you, right? Just instead of music notes flying out into the air, it's little middle fingers.
Just troll fucking.
Yeah, very much so. And don't forget, everybody, you can get the card of the week, Rebbec and the Piper, at FusionGamingOnline.com. Make sure you use CCO Fusion 5 promo code. Get yourself 5% off your 4-cent Prismatic Pipers. That's really important for us that we say that, and that you do let Fusion know that their partnership with us is a good one.
Which it totally is, because we're awesome. And when I say we, I don't mean just me and Ryan. I mean all of you guys too, because we are, and we say this not enough, I don't think, we are the best community in Commander, online, or anywhere. So I'm happy to be a part of it, and I'm glad that you guys are all here too. And we can show that to FusionGamingOnline.com by fucking buying Prismatic Pipers. God, I can't believe I just said that. God.
100%.
Oh, I gotta have a shower now.
Oh, yeah. That's the funniest thing.
God.
So big thanks to Chris. Big thanks to Fusion. Give us final thought of the day on the deck, the experience, the Commander Legends kind of first influences, both on Open Flippy, your Brando Does Stuff, boxing, openings, the deck, everything.
Oh my God, you want me to just encapsulate everything into a quick one-breath speech at the end? I'll try.
You're a podcasting radio professional. You fucking make it happen.
All right. As far as the deck goes, thanks very much, Von Doom, for sending it in. It is exactly what we like to see on the show, in that it's something unique and interesting that does a little bit of everything for everyone, and does it well enough that you could take it out somewhere, have a couple of beers with your buddies, play a couple of really great games of EDH, which is what you want at the end of every single day. As far as Commander Legends goes, I myself have had some not great experiences in opening it, but I know that lots of other people out there are really, really enjoying it. And at the end of the day, that's what matters, because I'll take the hit and I'll just open all the stupid garbage so that none of you guys have to, even if that includes Ryan, who I'm sure doesn't have all these shitty faded foils like I do. But that's not what this is about. This is about is that this deck was great. These set reviews have been a great time. I'm really excited to see what else you guys can come up with and send in to us. Even if it's not 5 decks at once, just show us what else we can do. If you think you found something else that I can do with my Brute Chronologist that isn't just a dirty smokestack that just ruins everybody's night, please send it to me, because I have a problem and I need help.
And also not infinite turns with Last Chance and Final Fortune.
No, yeah, I have a Final Fortune in there because I really want to play it, but I think that one extra turn is okay.
Mother ass.
If you can't recur it, I think that's okay.
That's fine, yeah.
It's fine. It's fine, and it's going to be a good time. And maybe, if I can get it finished at some point in the future, maybe that could be another deck that appears on the next episode of Commander Cookout Podcast. Hit our theme song!